it's appropriate to talk about like
It's not
individual
appropriate.
HR decisions.
Do you know who's
like
sitting
that.
behind you?
I don't believe so.
You apologize to the victims?
Senator, I think I've already answered this. I mean, these
Well,
are
try
serious
this again.
issues.
Will you take personal responsibility? Mr. Zuckerberg, let me start with you. Did I hear you say in your opening statement that there's no link between mental health and social media use?
Senator, what I said is I think it's important to look at the science. I know people widely talk about this as if that is something that's already been proven. And I think that the bulk of the scientific evidence does not support that.
Well, really, let me just remind you of some of the science from your own company. Instagram studied the effect of your platform on teenagers. Let me just read you some quotes from the Wall Street Journal's report on this. Company researchers found that Instagram is harmful for a sizable percentage of teenagers, most notably teenage girls. Here's a quote from your own study. Quote, "We make body image issues worse for 1 in 3 teen girls." Here's another quote. Teens blamed Instagram, this is your study, for increases in the rate of anxiety and depression. This reaction was unprompted and consistent across all groups. That's your study.
Senator, we try to understand the feedback and how people feel about the services. We can improve
Wait a minute,
them.
your
I think
own
those studies are-
study says that you make life worse for 1 in 3 teenage girls. You increase
Senator, that's not
anxiety
what it
and
says.
depression. That's what it says, and you're here testifying to us in public that there's no link. You've been doing this for years. For years, you've been coming in public and testifying under oath that there's absolutely no link. Your product is wonderful. The science is nascent, full speed ahead, while internally, you know full well your product is a disaster for teenagers.
Senator,
and yet
that's
you
not
keep
true.
right on doing what you're doing, right?
That's not true. That's not true.
Let me show you some other facts I know that you're familiar with. Wait a minute. That's not a question. That's not a question. Those are facts, Mr. Zuckerberg. That's not a question.
Those aren't facts.
Let me show you some more facts. Here's some information from a whistleblower who came before the Senate, testified under oath in public. He worked for you. He's a senior executive. Here's what he showed he found when he studied your products. So, for example, this is girls between the ages of 13 and 15 years old. 37% of them reported that they had been exposed to nudity on the platform unwanted in the last 7 days. 24% said that they had experienced unwanted sexual advances they'd been propositioned in the last 7 days. 17% said they had encountered self-harm content pushed at them in the last 7 days. Now, I know you're familiar with these stats because he sent you an email where he lined it all out. I mean, we've got a copy of it right here. My question is, who did you fire for this? Who got fired because of that?
Senator, we study all of this because it's important and we want to improve our services.
Well, you just told me a
And I think
second ago
that
you studied it, but that there was no linkage. Who did you
Senator,
fire?
I said you mischaracterized. the data.
37% of teenage girls between 13 and 15 were exposed to unwanted nudity in a week on Instagram. You knew about it. Who did you fire?
Senator, this is why we're building all
Who
these
did you
different
fire?
tools. Senator, I don't think that's.
Who did you fire?
I'm not going to answer that.
Because you didn't fire anybody, right? You didn't take any significant action.
It's appropriate to talk about like
It's not
individual
appropriate.
HR decisions.
Do you know who's sitting behind you? You've got families from across the nation whose children are either severely harmed or gone, and you don't think it's appropriate to talk about steps that you took? The fact that you didn't fire a single person? Let me ask you this. Have you compensated any of the victims?
Sorry?
Have you compensated any of the victims? These girls, have you compensated them?
I don't believe so.
Why not? Don't you think they deserve some compensation for what your platform has done? Help
Senator,
with counseling services, help with dealing with the issues that your services caused?
Our job is to make sure that we build tools to help keep people safe.
Are you
across
going
our
to compensate them?
Senator, our job and what we take seriously is making sure that we build industry-leading tools to find harmful content,
make money.
take it off the services,
To make money.
and to build tools that empower parents.
So you
that
didn't
help
take
work with
any
lawyers.
action, you didn't
That's
take
not
any
true,
action, you
Senator.
didn't fire anybody, you haven't
That's not true.
compensated a
That's
single
not-
victim.
that's
Let
not
me
what I
ask you
said.
this, let me ask you this. There's families of victims here today. Have you apologized to the victims? Would you like to do so now?
Well,
They're here, you're on national television. Would you like now to apologize to the victims who have been harmed by your product? Show them the pictures. Would you like to apologize for what you've done to these good people?
I'm sorry for everything that you
us to go through the types of things that your families have had to suffer.
You know, why, Mr. Zuckerberg, why should your company not be sued for this? Why is it that you can claim, you hide behind a liability shield, you can't be held accountable? Shouldn't you be held accountable personally? Will you take personal responsibility?
Senator, I think I've already answered this. I mean, these
Well,
are
try
serious
us again.
issues.
Will you take personal responsibility?
Senator, I view my job and the job of our company as building the best tools that we can to keep our community safe.
Well, you're failing at
and
that.
Well, Senator, we're doing an industry-leading effort. We build AI tools that...
Nonsense. Your product is killing people. Will you personally commit to compensating the victims? You're a billionaire. Will you commit to compensating the victims? Will you set up a compensation fund
Senator,
with your
I
money?
think these are
With your money.
complicated- Senator, these are complicated
Yes,
issues.
no, that's not a complicated question, though. That's a
Senator,
yes or no.
this is-
Will you set up a victims' compensation fund with your money, the money you made on these families sitting behind you? Yes or no?
Senator, I don't think that's, my job is to
Sounds
make sure
like
that
a
we
no.
build good tools. My
Sounds
job
like a
is
no.
to make sure that,
Your job is to be responsible for what your company has done. You've made billions of dollars on the people sitting behind them, you here. You've done nothing to help them. You've done nothing to compensate them. You've done nothing to put it right. You could do so here today, and you should. You should, Mr. Zuckerberg. Before my time expires, Mr. Chu, let me just ask you,